visionary leader, we move to the other honorable finance minister of our country. We all spoke about the GST, but there are much more. And she's the one who has actually proposed bringing this conference to the states of India. Madam Finance Minister.
Thank you very much, Chandrajit, and good evening to all of you all. Honorable Chief Minister, CII Chief, former President Dinesh, also DG Chandrajit Banerjee, Gunjan and Romal. Now, I suppose I'm doing the roadshow along with you continuously, so feels as if you both are part of the team. All invited guests. Things are actually very speedily evolving, and we are meeting at a time when we are talking about how to take the GCC further in the country. It's not as if there are no GCCs at all, but there was this impressive statistics or one particular number which was thrown at me at some point in time, well before the budget of June 24, post the election, July 24 budget, that 50% of all the GCCs in the world are to be in India. And for the rest of them which are already outside of India, they are run by more than 50% Indians only. So if the rest of the GCCs outside of India had 100 people running them, 50 of them were Indians. So either way, almost now for 2 years, GCC has acquired an Indian flavor, and that's been going on with the same expectation and speed. So when we were talking in late June, preparing for the July budget, issues of GCC and how to promote GCC were all being discussed, but by which time it was apparent that this statistic was before us, that 50% will be in India and 50 which are outside are being manned by Indians. So there was a sense of urgency. We had to do something. Equally, there were voices saying, do you want a GCC? It's only going to be something very different from what was IT earlier. Now it's going to be called as GCC. But a bit more going into what made GCCs different from the earlier BPOs was that it had a space for research and furthering technology. It also gave opportunities for companies to do a further higher end research for greater innovation. So it was not just back offices. So the character of GCC itself had a built-in advantage for India in that you had the manpower, the human resources which are so with skill sets which are necessary for running a GCC, but also it was no longer that sweat labor that you're talking about. It required the knowledge component. And therefore, PM Modi was very convinced that we should have a policy approach, which will entice people to have the GCC coming to India rather than policy support need not necessarily be imagined as fiscal support, but we should create the right kind of environment. So we spent quite some time understanding how to go about it. And in that, the CII has been actively engaged and participating with the government. And I must thank them that they have kept the momentum up. So it led to, actually one led to the other. We reached a stage where we wanted to gather everybody who had any interest in GCC at one place at a national level meet, so that we understand where are their next moves going to be, and CII organized it in Delhi. I've actually participated in quite such meetings earlier from my days in commerce. And in fact, Andhra Pradesh at that time and Visakhapatnam at that time hosted 2 partnership summits, one after the other. In fact, being in commerce, I used to say, why should we redo in Andhra? Can we not go anywhere else? But the Chief Minister was very clear, you do it here, that's it. There was no, in that style, no need to go anywhere else, you come here, we'll do it. So it made it easy for us, we came here. And those were the initial days of, in fact, Araku coffee. I still mentally have that picture of Araku's stall, where the CM took me and said, come taste it, you'll know. And even as we talked about Araku coffee in that partnership summit, in my days in commerce between 14 and 17, I once visited Paris, and in Paris, the entrepreneur came and met me and said, look, I have opened in the high street of Paris, one of them, a stall. You must come and see, and I've given a good touch of how we trace and track the coffee from the plant to the plantation or the farmer, and from there get it to the streets of Paris. So it was very, very good marketing technique, and I was very attracted to the way in which he presented it. And one, of course, I had tasted it in a partnership summit, and one obviously understands what importance Araku has for all of us. And when I went and saw that high street shop in Paris, it was impressive, absolutely giving credit to the farmers, the tribes who are actually moving into an area which was not originally theirs. Whoever would have thought Chikmagalur would be competing with Araku sooner? Chikmagalur, the old and traditional coffee growing area. But no, the reason why I'm expanding on this is there's a complete record of what Chief Minister Andhra Pradesh has done in Hyderabad. In fact, it was not Hyderabad and Secunderabad. There was a third city, which was the Cyberabad. Most of us used to call it like that. That was built, Outer Ring Road, many things. But today, in Andhra Pradesh, because it's necessary for us to understand as to why we are meeting here and what is the importance of meeting here. Today in Andhra Pradesh, I can count at least 3 frontier area foundations being laid. CM had announced already that quantum headquarter will be a quantum mission, which was part of my budget, 2 budgets earlier. The headquarters for quantum in India will be in Andhra Pradesh. It's the dream of the Chief Minister, and he's announced it. And he's also demarcated an area where he's going to create the necessary fundamental infrastructure for ensuring quantum emanates or fountainhead of quantum would be here. Did he stop at that? No. He started also one another area where he's demarcated and getting the advantage of a national mission which has been here for a long time, Sriharikota. He's now started a center for space. Future research in space related matters will happen there. So that will be a fountainhead of space which we opened up in the 21 budget. In 2021 budget, Prime Minister Modi for the first time guided me to bring in the word privatization into the budget. India would never ever in government circles speak about privatization, disinvestment, strategic disinvestment, public sector. I'm not crowing about it. But leaders, if they have the courage of conviction, they say things not for the sake of it, but because it means a lot more for the people of India. If 91 you go on recalling for the reforms which opened up India, actually full opening didn't happen then. Yes, it was a major step, I grant that. But full opening took a decade more. Even now, capital account is not opened up, I grant that. But actual opening up of India took its own time. That in 21 budget, PM said, why should there be any sector reserved for government? Every sector should be allowed for private sector. Why can't private investors and private operators come into areas which we hold as a monopoly now? Unless you open it up, your true energy of Indians. If the Chief Minister today is able to say, I want an entrepreneur each in every one of the families, It's because the scope is now widened. Space is opened up, 21 budget. We came up very clearly with a policy saying no one sector will be completely left in the hands of only government. The other way of putting it is even strategically important sectors, government presence will surely be there, but even that will be opened for private. Because the question immediately was, what do you mean? Strategic sectors which are very critical to the national security, are you going to leave it only to the hands of the private sector? No. Prime Minister was clear. He said, strategic sectors which are important for the national security, government will be present. But it shall not shut door to the private sector. Why am I elaborating on this? That's when this public sector policy, opening up of every sector policy was announced in 2021 budget. Startups came in as soon as that policy was announced and made a big deal in space sector. That is why today, startups are building small, miniature and large satellites, which are for some others. It can be a country or some agency with due diligence and complying with the laws of the land. You're able to send the satellite for those parties. And that's become a commercial operation. The moment you opened up, it gave you advantage. So look at what Andhra Pradesh is giving us as a continuity and also positively exploiting the policy. Quantum fountainhead, Andhra. Space, Sriharikota, and around it the ecosystem has been announced by the Honorable Chief Minister. The second, the GCC, he's focused it on Visakhapatnam. He's already made the announcement that Google is coming in with a data center here also in Visakhapatnam. Now, 4 things all related to the future of science, frontier of science, will emanate from here, and that's already the steps being taken are being openly announced. I would certainly add one with the indulgence of the Honorable Chief Minister is food and horticulture, which form the core of our food security. We can be anybody, anytime. And he was a bit apologetic about the weather of Andhra Pradesh. If Dubai, which is a complete desert, is not apologetic about what they're doing about future of science and technology, if Vietnam, the former Saigon, the Ho Chi Minh city, is not at all apologetic. It is sweaty, hot, humid, everything. Like you're in, and the latitude is also very much the same latitude of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. So temperature-wise, even they are not blessed. But that's where entrepreneurship flourishes. So Andhra, not despite the climate, has already laid the foundation for 4 of it. And the 5th one, which I'm assuming, which has not been said, is about the horticulture and the food self-sustaining, at the same time export scaled. So it can surely look at a prospect of supplying to the world fruits from the south of Andhra Pradesh. Entire Rayalaseema region is now full of fruits, vegetables and also some other horticulture projects. So you're having a state which is newly created after a difficult division, already blooming with these majorly science and knowledge-driven sectors. I would even imagine sooner that Amravati will draw all the fintech sectors. He's been talking with me, the Honorable Chief Minister, of banks coming in there. Let us see what can be worked out on that. So you've already got a state which is carving its place in 2047 Vikasit Bharat with futuristic sectors. So I'm very happy to be associated and to be part of it. The launch of the model state GCC framework being assisted by the CII with suggestions which they have given, and we've just released the report. I've also already mentioned the fact that global capability centers have a far-reaching impact on economic growth, competitiveness, and also on human capital development. It's going to be a transformational journey. Romal and Gunjan have spoken a lot about what their study or the study group has come up with. Today, they are innovation hubs, driving R&D, generating intellectual property and patents, and enabling sustainable growth for global enterprise. Long-term competitive advantage to global organizations can be also extended. So GCCs are actually cementing their position in India as the world's GCC hub. Now, three things which I would like to highlight. They are pillars, if you want to call them so, or they are aligned pillars with the GCC world. Investments in physical and digital infrastructure is absolutely critical. So if GCCs can come and do their business, or in the future to even multiply their business, you need the governments, both the state and the central government. And what for? You need them because investments in physical and digital infrastructure is absolutely critical. Both the governments in Andhra and also Government of India will work towards strengthening it. I'll give you a bit more on it. The second pillar, I think, is the education and skilling of manpower. You need a basic set of skills to be able to enter the threshold on GCC, and furthermore also for the data centers. And a third one is the facilitative governance. So if I were to talk on the physical and digital infrastructure, investments in physical and digital infrastructure is the first assumption. The rapid rollout of India's own 5G network and the significant investments in urban infrastructure are an expression of the importance we are placing on ramping up capabilities. A massive push has been undertaken to address infrastructure and logistics bottleneck. Capital investments, for a moment, let us see the numbers that we are talking about. Capital investment has increased from 1.7% of the GDP, and that was in 2013-14. Of the GDP, capital expenditure money was only 1.7% of our GDP. It is now, in 24-25, reached 3.2% of our GDP, with effective capital expenditure being actually 4.1%. When I say effective, I mean not just the central government's expenses, but also state governments putting their capital expenditure money into it. So 4.1% of our GDP is now completely going into capital asset creations. Over the last 11 years, 88 airports have been operationalized. 31,000 kilometers of new rail tracks have been laid. Metro networks expanded over fourfold. And port capacities have also doubled. And the national highway network extended by 60%. So complementing all these efforts, the central government has also provided the state governments 50-year interest-free assistance so that they can have their capital assets increased money to spend on them. The center has given 50-year interest-free money to all states, and the total of what has been given is about 3.6 lakh crores up till now. That is the last 4 years. And 22 states have actually used it, resulting in recording more than 10% growth in capital expenditure from their own resources, from states' own resources. Now, the other is the Digital India Initiative, which has enhanced digital infrastructure and simplified e-governance, enabling faster and smoother operationalization of the GCC. Reforms such as the introduction of SPICE Plus, simplified pro forma for incorporating company electronically Plus, that is SPICE Plus, and the establishment of the Processing Accelerated Corporate Exit, which we call as CPACE, are creating more innovation and business-friendly environment. So that's my first pillar. The second pillar is education and skilling. They improve employability, industry-ready capabilities are provided, and they are the key focus of our government. In July 24 budget, we particularly focused on this agenda and announced Prime Minister's package for 5 schemes and initiatives to facilitate employment, skilling, and other opportunities. And that covered 4.1 crore youth all over the country over a 5-year period, with a central outlay of 2 lakh crores. So that's directly for skilling and working with various types of employment opportunities. Large-scale skilling initiatives, what have we done on that? PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana, under which 1.6 crore people have been trained already, and they are being aligned with the emerging industry needs. 200 plus new age skill centers are also started. New age courses are being also approved, and the National Council for Vocational Education and Training, and 29 new age courses have also been added into the craftsman training scheme in ITIs. Programs such as the PM internship scheme also provide opportunity for GCCs to tap into national talent pipeline. The CII, together with other associations, are also working with us on the PM internship program. The pilot stages are over. Further, initiatives such as Research, Development and Innovation Scheme, the RDI scheme, with a corpus of 1 lakh crore, encourages the private sector to scale up. That's available for all in private sector, to scale up research development and also innovation. That's why it's called RDI scheme. 1 lakh crore has been provided for this. It's for every one of us to tap it. Largely aims at sunrise domains and also strategic domains. The Pradhan Mantri Vikasit Bharat Rozgar Yojana is another one, which employment-linked incentive scheme has been recently rolled out. And what it means is any young person receiving their first employment opportunity in a private company will be given 15,000 rupees from the central government. The central government also plans to invest nearly 1 lakh crore in this program to provide new jobs for new youngsters who are coming on. I'll move to the third and the final pillar, is that facilitative governance. Supportive regulatory measures such as ease of doing business, reforms that have been undertaken, simplified tax regulations, streamlined compliance norms for foreign entities, and also flexible labor laws have all been brought in, and a single window clearance mechanism have also been significantly reduced, have also reduced the cost and complexity of doing business. Reforms also have meant that liberalized FDI policies have come through, the removal of over 42,000 unnecessary compliances, 1,500 archaic laws which have been removed, and introduction of system-wide deregulation and landmark system-wide reforms such as the GST, about which a mention was made earlier, the reformed RERA Act, and the IBC, which has kept up with the changing needs of industry. So also in taxation, we've given an expanded safe harbor rule for tax-related matters, and also improved transfer pricing assessment process and procedures, and they are further getting enhanced so that the competitiveness of India's tax regime for global businesses will be worked out. The next generation GST reforms announced recently also benefits the GCC and IT-enabled services by easing compliance, releasing working capital which otherwise gets locked up, and reducing disputes. According to NASSCOM, the reforms bolster India's tech industry export engine while reinforcing the momentum towards greater ease of doing business. Now, the cooperative federalism aspect, which will be influencing GCCs and setting up GCCs in Tier 1, Tier 2, thus far, GCCs predominantly clustered in big metros. That was mentioned even by the CII when they spoke. However, with the ecosystem broadening and maturing beyond Tier 1 hubs, Tier 2, Tier 3 cities are emerging strategic destinations, a shift that is helping diversify economic activity. And that's where I think the emphasis on Visakhapatnam takes credit. State governments are playing a very critical role in deepening India's GCC advantage and shaping an enabling policy environment. So in order to maximize the impact, aligning national and state level policies about which we just spoke, and adapting policy instruments to ensure that each state builds on its own unique comparative advantage. That's what Andhra is striving to do, and that is where Andhra stands out as one of the first mover. So that the central strategies for GCC's growth translate into locally grounded ambitions, measurable targets, and also maximize growth potential. Building livability and infrastructure ecosystems that allow Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities to emerge as centers of excellence is one of the main things that can attract global talent, encourage corporate reinvestments, and host high-value innovation and service delivery, offering credible alternatives to Tier 1 cities. So in the 2025 February budget, we proposed a national framework to guide states in promoting GCCs in emerging Tier 2 cities. And that's where CII with people like Gunjan and Romal Shetty are doing actually doable things with their consultation. And we should be taking advantage of that kind of an input. Andhra Pradesh is strong, a very strong case, an illustration of the success of policy-led leadership in leveraging state-level strengths to align with national priorities. Otherwise, even as we were only talking in, let us say, April or May, about how and where Google will come and set up, you already have the Chief Minister announcing Google is here in Visakhapatnam. We only were discussing it in April and May. I distinctly remember the entire Google team meeting me when I had gone to Washington. On my way to Washington, in San Francisco, their team came and met me and spoke elaborately, saying, where should we do it? How should we do it? And here we are in early September with the Chief Minister saying they are going to be here. So that is the illustration about Andhra Pradesh, which I want to highlight, that if the policy-led leadership finds success and repeatedly leverages the state-level strengths, you can also, by aligning with the national policy, you can concretely see at the ground level changes that are normally taking a couple of years. Here we go within a matter of 3-4 months, you have this. And again, it's a question of the large-scale data center. Semiconductor is another thing which is coming into Andhra, which is already announced. Single window clearances have made a lot of magic about the whole thing. They are like a magic wand. You just do it once and it's all over. And that's happening here. Academia and curricula should now get aligned. I would suggest it to the Chief Minister that other than the national curriculum which comes, for the kind of specialized frontier sector technology-related activity that we're doing here, we need our curriculum to reflect it. Government of India also has a land incentive for tech hub policy 4.0 to allocate land leases on concessional rates. That is also something which the industry can benefit from. So in all, not taking more of your time, the release of the model state GCC framework provides a clear roadmap for states to scale up their efforts, attract investments, and build resilient ecosystems. By working together, center and state, industry associations like CII and global companies, we can ensure that India's GCC strength can be furthered and bring the broad-based and future-ready sector to benefit our people. And finally, this will not only consolidate India's leadership in the GCC landscape, but also create new opportunities for innovation, job creation, and inclusive regional development, contributing eventually towards Vikasit Bharat 2047. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have no time, actually. We have flights to catch. Madam Finance Minister will catch a flight. Honorable Chief Minister has another engagement to go. I could have gone on to thank both of them. I could have gone on to summarize what you said, but I'll dare not do that, and I'll dare not try to even extend this session further because of the important engagements our two leaders have the hereafter. But I'll only really move this with a strong vote of thanks to you for this leadership. If I can summarize it with 3 T's, target setting for us, extremely thought-provoking for us, and extremely strong transformative ideas from you. And we will take this forward with our commitment, with the partnership from the industry. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking our honorable guest.
May we present a small token of appreciation. May I request Dinesh sir to kindly present it to Madam FM. Dinesh sir to Honorable CM sir.